Welcome back, guys. Sorry I've been gone for so long. Been doing some, shit. But today I've been getting requested a lot, and I'm just getting so sick and tired of debating this fucking topic. But today we're gonna be going over Cell versus Gohan and Deborah. We'll try to fit it in. We'll see what's up. Here with me today we have Dre. Say what's up, Dre.
Hey guys, I'm Dre.
Yeah, so see, he's usually like, he's pretty, he's the average American boy next door. Handsome, gets all the girls.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, indeed. Alright, so let's just head right. Where should we start?
Where should you start? For Cell versus Dabra? I think before you even get into Cell versus Dabra, you need to tackle Cell versus Gohan because it's very crucial to the scaling.
Oh, yeah, obviously, yeah, we gotta get into Cell versus Gohan. But, yeah, we should probably start with a very obvious misconception that, like, a lot of people try to scale MSSJ Gohan above Cell. Now, Dre, do you want to get into that, or do you want me to get into that? It doesn't really matter.
Start it off and then I'll follow up on it.
Alright, start up. Okay, so the problem with Cell, like Gohan scaling above Cell, first of all, the scans that actually say that, because there are scans that try to say that Gohan has power greater than Cell's. There's an equal interpretation that you can just interpret that as his inner depths of his power. And then there's even this El Legendario scan where it says that Gohan has Gohan has power beyond Cell, something like that. And if you actually look at the actual context of what the manga's saying in that moment, Gohan's just talking about his inner depths of his power. And as far for the actual manga goes, for the reason why Cell would just scale higher, Dre, do you want to follow up with that, or you want me to keep going?
The reason why Cell would scale above MSSJ Gohan is that when you actually see Cell battling Gohan throughout the entire fight, he's pretty much dog-walking Gohan. Gohan really isn't being of any real help. I mean, if you actually look at the battle, you'll realize that while Cell was stated to be at full power against Goku, he was only at a suppress rate against Gohan. The only thing he actually was going all out against Gohan in, Gohan was contending with him in somewhat, was speed. So if you look at it by a feat standard, that's the most you can assign to Gohan.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also another thing to go over, and one more thing to go over is that Goku, he's the one that trained Gohan for High Time Chamber for the whole almost a year. And when Goku's speaking about Gohan, he says the only way that Gohan's going to win is if he brings that inner depth, his the thing I think what he actually says in terms translations, he brings true power when he gets enraged, because there's this whole narrative for Gohan that across Z, he'll get if he gets angry, he'll bring out this power that is just an amazing power that usually surpass everybody at the time, but it's only for a short burst.
He says our only hope is, he says something along the lines of, our only hope is for Gohan to unleash his true power.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
it is.
Exactly.
So that would be Goku literally gambling on a potential rage amp from Gohan that he'd have faith in being strong enough to defeat Cell.
Exactly. So yeah, if he's betting on this rage amp, then it's kind of just blatantly implied, and as shown, as we described, that Gohan as MSSJ is just not enough to defeat Cell. Man, and then now we can go into now that's done, we can go to Super Cell, right? As to why he scales above Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. So man, we can easily go there's there's a lot of ways we can go about this. There is a Daizenshuu statement that does say that Cell became the strongest being as soon as he came back. There's Herm's mistranslated it, and Herm's even admits this, that he mistranslated it. But yeah, the actual translation isn't strongest in existence, it's just his strongest being. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I've heard a reputation that people just use it to refer to as MSSJ Gohan. Dre, do you want to get into the why that would be just blatantly wrong?
The argument is that the way that the Daizenshuu works is that the Daizenshuu is a story guide that goes from a chronological perspective of events. If that's the case, then in that specific moment when Cell returns, Gohan is not only in a mentally defeated state of mind, but he would also be in SSJ. So people look at it from the perspective of the level of strength Gohan was displaying at that specific moment, and would use it to assert that Cell would only scale above a suppressed, or I'm sorry, not even a suppressed, like just only an SSJ Gohan, and not apply it to 2. The problem that I have with it, or rather, the more proper way of looking at it, at least in my opinion, would be Gohan in general. The reason being that if you look at the other narrative that we're given within the story, Cell literally states when Gohan actually shoots his Kamehameha that he never anticipated that a being this strong could exist inside of the Abyss, and then he's still talking about things like the existence of Gohan and stuff in all of the other translations. And when he's talking about that, he has SSJ2 Goku in mind. So if you keep in Cell's perspective and then look at him suddenly now being the strongest being, it's probably following up on that claim from Cell. And also that the Daizenshu, at least from what we've seen, tends to at least refer to characters just in general, like their full power, unless normally specified. An example being the Cell Juniors. They're stated to have power that is relative to a perfect Cell, but yet despite that, when they're fighting Vegeta and Trunks, it specifically states that they're equal to Vegeta and Trunks at the time, making a specification of a suppressed state, while there's no specification of Gohan being suppressed.
Alright guys, so if it sounds like I'm a little bit different than when I'm talking initially with Dre, that's because this is post-editing. I just want to repeat this point, because when I initially recorded this, I don't think it made a lot of sense. Even when I was listening, I was like, what the heck am I saying? So I'm going to go back in and go add on to this point that Dre was trying to make to, that's why this would refer, like the Zaizenshu statement would be referring to Super Saiyan Team Gohan rather than MSJ Gohan. So if you try and interpret it as just being a weakened, mental nerfed MSJ Gohan, like Dre said, the problem that it does come up is that the Daizenshu was specifically saying that when Cell arrived back on Earth in his like super perfect like state, or like his Super Saiyan 2 state, like people like to say, because of like the lightning and stuff, that moment is when he became the strongest being. It's like when he became that's when he became the strongest being. Boom. But we already proved earlier in this video that perfect form scale scales above MSJ Gohan. So perfect Cell is already stronger than MSJ Gohan. That's just it. So he can't become the strongest being if he's already stronger than MSJ Gohan. You see the problem? Like he just can't, like that doesn't make any sense. Unless it's referring to like Gohan's general full power, which would be his Super Saiyan 2 teen state, who was strong in perfect form Cell. So it would actually make sense. So he was strong in perfect form Cell, and Super Perfect Cell comes in, boom, he's the strongest. Perfect. So he can't become the strongest if he was already the strongest, unless someone was stronger than him. Which the only person that was stronger than him was Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan. So that Daizenshu statement of him becoming the strongest being would be more in reference to Gohan's like full power in general, which is his Super Saiyan 2 state, rather than MSJ state he was on Earth when Cell came back to life. And another big thing that I was explaining, which I did a really terrible job at initially, so Dre probably thought I was on drugs when I was explaining this, but anyways, is the Cell, when Cell broke Gohan's arm. And the reason why this is like a big thing is because when Gohan powered up to fight Cell, he was bloodlusted. He was telling Cell, I'm gonna kill you with my bare hands. I'm glad my father like didn't take you out, because I want to kill you with my bare hands. I'll have to scan for you, because I don't think I'm exactly saying what was on there. But anyways, we know that when Teen Gohan was fighting Perfect Cell, he was going all out against him, and he was going all out against the Cell Juniors, which I'm gonna have scans for you guys on the screen, and Dre's gonna bring it up later on for his next point that we're gonna establish. But anyways, so this establishes that Gohan, he has the tendency to go full power while he's fighting in Super Saiyan 2. Keep in mind that when he was fighting Perfect Form Cell, he was specifically making sure not to kill him and only to torture him, yet he was still going all out. So now if he has killing intent for Super Perfect Cell, it would only make sense for him to power up to his max, like for him to be at max power. Like why would he fight a weaker version at full power, and then he has killing intent for a stronger version of Cell, and then not fight him at full power? That doesn't make any sense at all. And not to mention when Gohan, he sees the blast coming at Vegeta, he freaks out and showing his like his facial expression that he's in a panic to save Vegeta, which implies that he'll be going as fast as possible to save Vegeta. I mean, it's not really in character for Gohan to just like suppress himself to save the character. That doesn't make any sense. And in Dragon Ball, in order to go at max speed, you need to be at your max ki output, because ki is what buffs all your stats. It buffs your physical defense, your physical attack, your speed. It buffs everything. He buffs everything in Dragon Ball. This is basic 101 Dragon Ball. And this is why when you see Dragon Ball characters burst their ki to go faster, they're actually just increasing their ki. So the point being, if Cell broke Gohan's arm while Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was at his max ki, that would mean Cell produced a blast strong enough to reduce a Gohan, reduce a Gohan at his max strength as well. And that Cell wasn't even at his full power, as right before he breaks Gohan's arm, he says no more playing around, and then he powers up even more to fire Kamehameha, which a lot of guys refer to that as his actual full power. So a suppressed Cell produced a blast capable of hindering a full power Gohan to half his power, which is crazy because characters that are relative to each other and they fire blasts at each other, they don't hinder themselves to you don't just get hit by a blast and get hindered to half power in Dragon Ball. It's not normally a thing. So just by one blast from Cell hindering him to half power, it's a pretty big deal. So Cell would just scale higher because of this feat and the Daizenshuu statement. And now back to the present editing.
And then there's one more thing people try to use to refute that Cell isn't just he's not on a level of Super Saiyan 2 King Gohan, and this is the biggest thing. It's the beam struggle. Now, Dre, I know you're a big fan of this. You've heard of this argument many times. Do you want to go into it?
So the thing with the beam flash is that upon looking at it initially, one could see it two ways. One is that Gohan actually just overpowered Cell with less than half of his ki, which would mean that he should be massively above Super Perfect Cell at his full power, because he just did this in a restricted state. Or two is that Gohan was actually receiving power from Goku that was amplifying the Kamehameha. Or even three, which the Gohan was actually receiving an amplification in his power via Goku's encouragement. And there is evidence for 2 and 3 that would actually, I'd say, outweigh number 1. The reasons being, if you were to put this in conjunction with the strongest being statement, which most likely is in reference to SSJ2, it doesn't make much sense. It would almost feel contradictory to look at the beam flash after that and say, hey, these two make sense. The thing is that as far as that goes, there's two things. There is an interview from Akira Toriyama in which he states that you can receive energy from feeling encouraged by somebody, and that he'll show that on the screen in this video for you. And basically, if you look at the way that it works, you have an actual quantification of just how much Gohan would have increased. Gohan was already stated to be at full power in SSJ2 against Perfect Cell, and then after that, when Gohan is fighting Perfect Cell in SSJ2, he shoots a Kamehameha at full power. So Gohan's Kamehameha in the Daizenshuu is stated to be the strongest Kamehameha in history, meaning that Kamehameha, that amped Gohan shot, is stronger than anything SSJ2 Gohan could have put out. So that means he received an amp that more than doubled his power. And then the other one is there are multiple statements that Goku gave Gohan power to amp his Kamehameha. The problem that the contention rather, that most people give is that power can come in many different forms. The thing is though, that even then, there are multiple statements where Goku is encouraging Gohan, and they seemingly make a separation between the choices of words that are used, especially when it doesn't make sense for him to borrow power from Goku in that context. It most likely means borrow energy.
Wow. Yeah, you explained it really well for the audience. So with that out of the way, that's the reasons why Cell would just scale above Gohan in the Cell games. And now with that out of the way, that was the really important part for. We need that. Now we can finally scale Cell in the Bora. So now we're heading into the Buu saga. The first thing we see a lot, at least what a lot of the Bora people like to argue, is a scan that says Gohan has equal power to that of when he was a boy. Now the thing is about that, there's a lot of contentions with that, and there's even a lot of interpretations that a lot of debaters like to give. I'll just say a few, just so we don't have to get into all of them. There are numerous guides, numerous scans, even in the manga, to just point to Gohan being not as strong as he was when he was in the Cell games. And even the Daizenshuu even says that Gohan, like when they show like a picture of Super Saiyan 2 adult Gohan, they say he's not like due to like lack of training and like anger and stuff like that, he's just not as strong as he was when he fought like the Cell games, when he was in the Cell games. So like either like his Super Saiyan 2 is not being as strong as his teen, or like his base, he's just not as strong as he was in the Cell games. It's really just that blatant. It's just that blatantly obvious. And now with that, we can finally get into like the Dabura side, and a lot of people with Dabura, they like to use a statement of when Goku says Dabura is about as strong as Cell. Now obviously there's contention, otherwise we wouldn't be having this video. The problem with that is there's two ways you can look at this. Either A, Goku's referring to perfect form Cell, or B, this is just like blatantly wrong, and we're gonna get into why. So the problem with that is that Dabura, he fights pretty relative, like it's pretty relative with with adult Gohan, and like he's kind of like, it's up to the point where like he's like actually sweating while he's like trying to actually hit Gohan. So there's like, it's pretty like clear the implications of the like story's trying to show that he's like actually putting effort against like Gohan. Yeah, and another thing is like people like to bring up that Dabura is like suppressed and stuff, and the problem with that is Dabura's main task from Babidi was that he needs to damage Gohan. So like if he's really stronger than Gohan, he could have speed blitzed him and got his damage that way. Like he could have easily got his damage if he was stronger. But the fact that he like kind of like struggled against Gohan, and like there was even a time where like he had used an after damage against Gohan and he got hit by his blast. And then the only thing that Gohan, like, he didn't really have any damage on him. He just had like ripped clothes, and even Babidi said he didn't really do much damage against Gohan. And it's just like, it just doesn't really make any sense for like the board to be suppressed against like Gohan, as he also just tries to spit on him like just blatantly as well. So and there's really one more contention that a lot of these people, like Dabura fans, try to do, is they try to bring up the statements where Dabura says that Gohan's like not like that he can easily deal with Gohan now. And Dre, do you want to get into that? Because I feel like I've been talking for a little bit. Unless you want me to get into it.
What? The whole like, oh, he's trash, like I can take care of him right away. Yeah, sure. Dabura states that, about Gohan, when Babidi asks, "Can you beat him?" Of course, I can dispose of this little snot. At least that's what he says in the viz. If my memory isn't failing me. The thing there is that statement can be correct, and it wouldn't really be a defeater or an opposition to the idea that Gohan and Dabura were relative and Dabura was at full power. The reason being, you have to look at something that's in Dabura's arsenal that he's known for, and that is his Spit Stone. Dabura is an extremely hacked out fighter in terms of magic, but there is an extremely lethal move in there, which is the Spit Stone, which he could not really just use freely. At least not in the manga. He does it in the anime, I think, but he doesn't use it in the anime. Oh wait, he does use it in the manga, actually. Never mind, then yeah. He could just be relying on Gohan, on the Spit Stone, to actually just take out Gohan, because once he does that, he doesn't need to actually battle Gohan any longer, because Gohan will be stoned and he can just break him. That'd be one way of looking at it, because Gohan got very lucky when he put his arm up and could just take off the glove before the stone spread out to his actual body. Two, is it could be Dabura being overconfident on the fact that Gohan pretty much had gassed out in his fight against Dabura. Because when you see him by the end of the fight, after the little sword clash, Gohan is on his hands and knees, just gasping for air, just huffing and puffing nonstop. While Dabura he's in a very good shape. So when Babidi is telling him, "Hey, can you beat him?" he could be having in mind the fact that the last time him and Gohan fought, despite Gohan literally showing feats of relativity towards the later end, it really didn't go so well for him. It was shown that he just couldn't keep up.
Alright boys, post-edit Dark here to clarify what I couldn't do in the recording. I'm going to talk about how there's supporting evidence that Gohan can be, it's either he's relative or he's on a higher end of relativity compared to the Boar. In other words, he could be stronger than the Boar. And the reason why I'm saying this is because right when Buu is about to emerge, Gohan, he powers up in Super Saiyan 2, and as soon as he does that, the Boar and Babidi are both shocked just by what Gohan is displaying, like via his power. And then when Gohan fires a Kamehameha, the Boar feels so pressured and intimidated by the blast that he has to hurriedly grab Babidi and dodge the attack. A much simpler way, if the Boar really was stronger than Gohan, is he could just block the attack. An example of this is Raditz blocking Kamehameha with one hand from Goku, who was about, I think, 916 and Raditz is 1500, and Raditz took no damage. And the reason as to why this would prove Gohan's on a higher in relativity is because relative fighters are able to block beams from one another. And a very good example of this is Goku versus Piccolo Jr. in OG Dragon Ball. Goku and Piccolo fight high end like relative. I'll have the scans on the screen for you guys, by the way. And then right after this, Goku and Piccolo Jr. they both get into a beam clash, and in this beam clash, Goku actually is shown to be stronger than Piccolo, as he's able to overpower Piccolo's beam. However, Piccolo is still able to guard the attack, and he's still able to survive. He takes damage and he's still able to survive. And another example is Kaioken 20 Goku and 50% Frieza. So Goku in the Namek arc, he's confirmed to be 3 million by data books, and 50% Frieza is confirmed to be 60 million at 50%. So Kaioken 20 Goku should be equal to 50% Frieza, yet despite being equal, Frieza is still able to guard Goku's Kamehameha, in which he takes damage, but he ultimately survives. And a third example is how Vegeta and Kaioken 3 Goku are relative in their beam clash, yet Goku goes Kaioken 4 and completely overpowers Vegeta. And yet Vegeta is able to survive from the blast, right? So there are these examples of how fighters with relativity are able to take beam attacks from each other, but yet the Boar was so scared to beam that he felt it would be safer dodging the attack than guarding it, right? And it's not like he dodged it with ease either. When dodging the attack, he had panic on his face as he was grabbing Babidi. It is implying that he's even more it implies even more how afraid he is of the blast. So it would just be implied because of what I just said that Gohan is a tad bit stronger than the Boar. And this will support the whole point that I hear a lot of debaters say that Gohan is just stronger than the Boar. However, since Gohan's rusty, his fighting techniques are not as good and his stamina is not as good as it used to be, which is why he's so gassed up after the fight, like Dre just mentioned. And this actually makes a lot of sense because Goku and Vegeta on the sidelines when they're he's fighting the Boar, Vegeta's commenting, yo, my boy, your boy Gohan should not be struggling this much with the Boar, which is implying that Gohan's also that's kind of a supporting factor of how Gohan could also be stronger than the Boar. And actually, as a matter of fact, I believe there's actually an anime scan that verbatim says what I just said, which I'll have it on screen for you guys. And also, I should bring up the argument from the Boar fanboys that they use the Boar dodging Gohan's Kamehameha to mean the Boar is faster than Gohan, which isn't necessarily the case. The Boar already saw the attack coming and knew where Gohan was firing it, so I wouldn't say easily dodge the blast, but it'd be able to dodge the blast enough. But it wouldn't mean he's faster than blast. So think about it like this. I see a car coming at me 60, 70 miles per hour. It's only 15, 20, maybe, 15 to 20 feet away from me. And as soon as it starts chasing, I jump to the left of my direction to avoid the car right before it hits me. Am I faster than the car? No. I'm not there's no human. Well, I can't I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm not I don't know about other humans, but I can't run at 70 miles per hour. I'm not that fast, and neither is most of the average humans. I don't even is Usain Bolt that fast? I don't even think Usain Bolt's that fast. He's that's insane. 70 miles per hour, that's insane. But it just can be the same case here. Just because the Boar dodged the attack does not mean he's faster than Gohan. Now that Future Me is done explaining what I just said, I'll let President Dre take it over here with his last point.
Okay, so people normally disregard the possibility that when Gohan refers to Cell, he is thinking in retrospect to Perfect Cell, the Cell that him and Gohan just battled. The thing is that this is normally the analogy that I've experienced. When people tell me that, they tell me that when you refer to Goku in the Android Saga, you wouldn't be thinking of the Goku from the King Piccolo Saga. What I say in response to that is the Dragon Ball characters have referred to a suppressed state without specifying it and just saying the name in general. This happens in Super when Gohan is battling Goku, and the narrator states that Gohan has power that rivals Goku's, but we even see in the time when he's referring to that, Gohan is battling on par with Super Saiyan Blue. And when we see him actually use his full power, Goku one-shots him, so it can't have been his full power. And a better example of that doesn't happen on screen is that wouldn't ever happen on screen at least, but just a way where you can use it is that if there's Goku who has SSJ3 and he's fighting on par in SSJ with somebody, you can say he's about even with Goku without having to specify that he's in SSJ3 with that just being the subtext. That would be what I'd say to counter that. The reason that it can be in reference to Perfect Cell, however, is via scaling. If you look at the connotation behind them saying Cell's name in that statement, the connotation is fodder. They think that Cell is fodder. He's trash. He's not a physical threat to them anymore. Is what the blatant implication is from their conversation about him with Kaioshin. The thing is, the way that it works is that we know that Super Perfect Cell was a physical threat to Gohan in his teen form, he was a kid, I guess, not a teen. But yeah, Cell was a physical threat to that Gohan, and when Goku is battling Vegeta, Vegeta doesn't make any comment of Goku being stronger than Gohan until after he transforms into his full power at SSJ2. So the implication is that prior to that, he was weaker, and Vegeta only feels the need to point it out afterwards. And even then, he would only be stronger by an unquantifiable amount. We can't really assign Goku any better feats or scaling outside of being unquantifiably stronger than the teen Gohan, or kid Gohan, I keep saying teen, yeah. So if you look at it from that perspective, then it makes no sense for a guy who is a physical threat to Gohan, who should still be somewhat of a physical threat to Goku, to be absolute fodder in the context they're speaking of. However, there is a form of Cell that could fit into that context of fodder, and that would be the Perfect Cell that was getting dog-walked by SSJ2 Gohan. Just one final bit of it to just help further it would be that Gohan is stated to be massively weaker than he was in SSJ2, and like we said earlier, that Gohan was at least relative to the Dabra, so it wouldn't really make sense for it to be in reference to Super Perfect Cell.
I mean, that's about it, guys. Deborah's fodder, Super Cell claps. Any final inspirations, Ray, that you have to say to the audience?
Not really, no. I mean, don't take our word as, objectivity. I mean, there's probably some Dabra scalers that we're friends with that might not like this video very much. Just do your own research. Just take ours with a grain of salt and formulate your own opinions. That's all I'd have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, if you are still the board fans out there and you just don't agree with whatever he said and you want it to be your own personal headcanon, that's fine by me. That's, it's fine. We're just talking about in terms of the debating stance of why we personally believe Cell is stronger than Deborah and Gohan. But hey, if you guys want to stick with your Deborah side, that's fine by me. My personal opinion, Deborah side is trash. Without that out of the way, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, stay out of the headcanon. Peace.